What is up, good people? Jungle Link here. We got some big stuff to go over. Some huge drivers of value for XRP. The stage is set. We're going to dominate. Also, we're going to go over the whole scandal with Bitcoin devs attacking XRP, Ripple, and even Ethereum. They were going after, all three in a big way. And Adam Back put out an explanation on their involvement. And I kind of blew that off yesterday. I'm like, well, I take Adam at his word. I slept on it. Didn't feel right about that. And so I put a secondary question to him today on X about this whole scandal. Make no mistake, it is a scandal. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Let's get into the good stuff first, though. The XRP ledger, it's moving far beyond just fast payments. And don't forget, payments are huge. $1 trillion problem, of course. Money stuck in Nostro Vostro accounts. And we're still going to own that. Like, that's still, going full steam ahead. But it's all the other stuff we're going to pick up. It's a ton of stuff. Institutional DeFi and lending as big as it gets. The XRP ledger is on the verge of launching its native lending protocol. That's interesting, too. It's novel. It's not something that's stacked on top of the blockchain. It's baked into the core architecture. I think gives us a huge advantage. Unlike typical retail yield farms, very different than what we typically see out there. This is being built for institutional-grade credit markets, bringing real-world lending on-chain. Big difference there. Privacy and compliance. Privacy is going to be a big deal as we go through 2026 as people actually onboard. Ripple's 2026 focus includes selective disclosure features. This is a game changer. What do you need to disclose to be compliant? And the goal is to allow institutions to keep sensitive transaction data confidential while proving compliance to regulators. You don't want everyone seeing where your payments are going, your flows. Again, the market will move. You don't want to see everyone seeing your trades, all this other kind of stuff. But at the same time, you need to be able to give certain information to regulators to be compliant, to be an institutional grade product. And so they're finding that balance. How do we do that from a technological standpoint? And it's going to happen. You have to have that if you're going to reach mass adoption. Everything can't be on the open ledger. It's kind of common sense here. Multi-asset bridge. This is huge. Integration of RLUSD is a strategic move. It's on Ethereum. It's on XRP. It's going to be on a lot of other chains. That alone makes us multi-chain, but it's not stopping there. We heard from David Schwartz. This is why they're looking at light programmability on the XRP ledger, because it's about bridging. You need to have some sort of programmability to have bridging to other blockchains, and we're going to get it. And it's going to be huge. And you're going to see the XRP ledger become the central hub for trade of currencies, of stocks, of bonds, of everything of value. And it's huge. And again, tokenization. I did a video yesterday. If you didn't watch it at the end. But if you understand how much value is coming ripping on chains that are going to be significant in the tokenization revolution, you understand we haven't seen anything in terms of growth yet. And remember, XRP Ledger from day one was built specifically for tokenization. They didn't have that word back then. They're just like, oh, it's an IOU. No, it's tokenizing a real-world asset. And we are ready. We are ready to strike. And we're getting a lot of feature sets built out to really be able to onboard people. Now, since launch of the XRP ETFs, spot ETFs in Bitwise, Canary, and 21 shares, and Franklin Templeton have all surged past 1 billion assets under management, reaching the 1 billion mark. This proves there's a massive pent-up demand for a regulated way to hold XRP. Institutional investors might not be how you or I invest traditionally in this asset class, but a lot of people, that's their only option. And we're seeing a lot of demand there because you're seeing multiple issuers being able to build up quite a bit of assets under management with XRP. Yes, the flows, they're choppy at times. It's a tough time in crypto. Let's be honest. You see Bitcoin dropping, silver, gold, stocks. It's tough out there. But again, it's choppy. We are seeing great inflows. And when we do see outflows, and there's not a lot of it, it's tied to macro risk off sentiment. Bitcoin ETF weaknesses. You're just seeing people selling risk assets across the board. And so, yeah, of course, XRP is going to get hit a bit, but not as much. We see days where there's outflows for Bitcoin ETF and inflows for XRP ETF. And some of that is catching up. Again, the Bitcoin ETF's been around a while. The Ethereum ETF's been around a while. XRP is the new kid on the block. People are taking these opportunities to build out their position. That's exciting. Inflow spikes, significant buy the dip activity where institutions are loading up. Well, when regular folks like us are panicking, when people are selling, when they want out, that's when institutions are going to jump in and build out their position. We're in the build out phase right now, unlike previous cycles that are driven almost entirely by retail hype. The current ownership base, the current investing base really, is becoming increasingly institutional. It's not a mass exit, it's a structural foundation we see being built right now as we speak here. European gateway, this is important. This separates XRP Ripple from everything else. Ripple has secured its electronic money institution EMI license from Luxembourg, CSSF, and the impact this allows Ripple to issue, manage electronic money and payment services across the entire EU. Ripple, they're a powerhouse in the European market. The most regulated strategy here. They have 70 to 75 licenses globally, and they're really distancing themselves from everyone else. As we start onboarding everyone, they've had years of experience. They have all the licensure. They're fully compliant. They are ready to go, and they're going to pick up a good amount of that growth, you best believe. Clarity Act still on hold here in the U.S. when we look at kind of the U.S. Market here, but I think it's going to happen. Federal legislation aimed at cementing not just XRP but crypto in general, its security status in the law. And of course, unless something happens, it's already final for XRP, right? Every other cryptocurrency doesn't have that same, ruling by a judge. But the problem is, if someone passes a bad rule, well, now it's all changed, right? Now we have new rules. We need to strike while the iron's hot, and I think it's going to happen. I'm hopeful it happens this year, and in the first half of this year, we will see as we continue forward here. Now, yesterday, we saw Adam back, and he said the following. Look, in 2014, MIT Labs, director Joey Ito wanted to invest in Blockstream, his company here, and of course, who would not want MIT or someone from MIT investing in that? Essentially Jeffrey Epstein, he was simply just a limited partner, and they're no longer invested, and no harm, no foul. And in general, listen, Epstein was in all the major tech, whether we're talking about crypto, big tech, AI, in sciences, everything. So just the fact that someone invests in your company is not a problem. And so yesterday I saw this. I'm like, Adam addressed it quickly. Yay for that. But it didn't sit well with me. And so I came back and said, you know what? I appreciate the very quick, response here about Blockstream and Epstein's history. But, this 2014 email, and I attached it here for him to see, it appears to kind of contradict this just an indirect nature of their connections. And I think a follow-up is warranted for the record. First of all, direct engagement, the email, it's not addressed at this MIT fund or just Joey Ito. It is addressed to Jeffrey Epstein directly. And one of the other co-founders in this email, they're thanking Epstein and Ito listen, I learned so much from our discussions together. Was this something more than just an investment? Was this some sort of mentor role? What was promised there? And why was Epstein, essentially his investment here, it was allocated 10x what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to just get a 50,000 allocation. They bumped it to 500K. And they gave a bunch of other investors a haircut. Why? If this is just some other fund investing and you have plenty of investment and Epstein is no big deal, why are you 10xing the amount he's allowed to invest in? Also, we see here he was CC'd on this specific email. And did the founding team view him as some sort of strategic partner rather than just an LP in a fund? Because this doesn't seem like an LP in a fund. Further, he says Epstein was introduced to Blockstream as just an LP, right? Some limited partner, not a big deal. But, that sounds a little bit not like what we're seeing here in reality. We see them emailing him directly, thanking them for what they were taught, 10xing their revenue they were allowed to invest in. That doesn't sound right to me. And I think that Adam should address this. And again, people could be fooled. Of course, not everyone knew what was going on here at this time. But, specifically what interests me is them going after XLM's a threat, Ripple's a threat, Ethereum's a threat. Like, who were they reaching out to? And, what did they say and what problems did they potentially cause here? Now, I was speaking to Roger Ver today via email, and he said, you know what? The Epstein dump, I wish I was surprised, but the Epstein files sure are a vindication of the big block BCH side of the Bitcoin civil war. Essentially saying, look, Roger Ver, he wasn't involved in any of these shenanigans, and Roger Ver is an investor in Ripple and a lot of other technologies. He's all about the future and the best future possible. He wasn't involved in this kind of stuff. And I do have to point this out, though. Epstein did try to recruit Gavin Anderson, the number one dude at Bitcoin Core, in 2011. And Gavin said, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. So not everyone at Bitcoin Core, the small blockers, went along with this, but a lot of them did. We should ask questions. And I think, I know a lot of people in Bitcoin don't like Roger Ver. We would not be here today if it wasn't for him. Bitcoin wouldn't be where it was. He paid for all of Joel Katz, David Schwartz, first year of his work at Ripple. Ripple wouldn't be where it is without Roger Ver. Like, this industry owes him a big debt. And, it's great to see that here, this is someone that's a leader in the field and he's not involved in all of this nonsense. I want to make it clear, I don't know that Blockstream did anything wrong. I'm not saying they did. I'm not saying Adam Back. I haven't seen anything where he directly said anything nefarious. He never brought up Ripple, XLM, or Ethereum. That was other people at the company, so I'm not accusing him at all. But I would like these questions answered because I think it's important, especially for the history of cryptocurrencies and what happened, because we've seen an awful lot, especially as XRP investors. We've seen attacks that seem to come out of nowhere. Maybe they didn't come out of nowhere. That's all I'm saying. And I would love it if Adam, who seems to be straightforward, if he could answer those questions. Now, we saw this today on Bloomberg. This is chief analyst for Zacks, and he says people are tired of the Bitcoin trade. And he says that we need to get central banks on board to take this thing to the next level. Otherwise, it's kind of burning out, winding down. I'll tell you this, people are always tired of something until they're not. And all you need to see is crypto to go up in a big way. Everyone will be piling in at the top. That's the way it usually works, of both Bitcoin and altcoins. But I understand what he's happening. There's a lot of exciting things going on out there, whether it's artificial intelligence, tech sector, all sorts of stuff. We have to fight for attention here. But I think crypto will be just fine. We just got to hit our little window here, and things will take off. Lastly, my Claude bot today, it initialized its own autonomous XRP wallet. I don't even have the keys to this thing. It did an XRP wallet and also a base wallet. And it said it picked XRP for 3-second finality, fractions of a penny to send payments, and secure sovereign rails. And, let's be honest, really it picked XRP because I like XRP, right? That's what my Claude bot is doing there. I said at $23 today, we will see what it does. And I said, look, I don't expect you to make me money. I don't want you to do it. You do what you do and report back to me. I'll let you know what happens here. A lot of craziness going on in artificial intelligence. It sure is a lot of fun. Make sure you're careful with this kind of stuff. A lot of security risks with CloudBot when you give it access to and bringing it into your network. Make sure you are safe. But, if you can do so, I suggest you play around with this stuff because it is really exciting. It's really fun. Just watch out what you do out there. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.